So it's really about different customers are going to have different expectations, but really you have to do the best you can on the product side and then just have a more diverse product offering and always listen to your clients. A lot of our a lot of our styles and products were developed by listening to our clients.
Michael Moran, it is good to have you here in Ecommerce. How are you doing today? How are you feeling?
It's just another day in paradise. I'm here in Atlanta. I got a nice cup of coffee, looking at the view of downtown, and I'm talking to you. So it couldn't get much better.
Oh, wonderful! So you live in the downtown core?
Yeah, well, pretty close. I'm actually right outside. Not many people actually live in downtown Atlanta. It's getting a little bit more populated there, but from being outside a little bit, a couple miles, it gives you the nice view of downtown Atlanta where people are doing business and other things.
Okay, I'm going to tell this quick story and then we'll dive in. But being in Toronto, Canada, for most, if not all, of my life, living in the downtown core is a goal for a lot of people. All the services are right there. You don't need a car so much. It's expensive, but if you have a decent job, you can do it. And I was in for quite a culture shock when my dad took me to Los Angeles, and I wanted to see downtown because I just wanted to compare and contrast. And aside from the highways that looked like a Hot Wheels track, it was quite the shift in perspective, seeing that it was really like a place where people are commuting and living not so much. It's and I don't know if that's like a recurring trend in U.S. cities. So like from your point of view, do you tend to see that cities are really more of like, this is where we work, nice to visit, but don't want to live here?
Yeah, well, Toronto was built better for that kind of setup for living downtown. Now, there's definitely cities, New York, Charlotte. A lot of people actually live downtown. They built it up a lot. Atlanta it's so sprawled out. So what people actually call Atlanta is much smaller than people kind of think it is because it has all the surrounding areas. But downtown Atlanta, it was the worst design ever. They just recently added a streetcar that does nothing and nobody rides it. So I don't know who's planning this stuff, just spending a bunch of tax dollars. But it's a lot of the US cities. I don't know if it's because some of them are much older. They're just not really designed well. But I think they are trying to, do different things to make it so people are walking more, getting around a lot easier. I mean, honestly, I just spent a couple of weeks in Paris and we didn't even use public transportation, but everything was there. People live downtown. Everything's there. It's similar to Toronto. I've been there a few times. Shopify has Shopify Unite there, and I've had some Shopify meetings there. That's why even before this, I said, I love Toronto because you can be down there. There's all the people, stuff to do, everything. I mean, I'm very fortunate the area I live in. I actually live in a 2.1 million square foot building. So I have 20 restaurants downstairs, a gym. MailChimp's headquarters is like I'm literally looking at it. A little different situation for me, but yeah, it's a mess over here in America.
Yeah. If I can remember the name of the video, I would say the title of it, but there is some digging that they did into this. And one of the main issues was during the Industrial Revolution, or really when cars really started to be like the thing that every household would have, they built houses around, or the structure was built around cars. So the idea was, well, everyone's just going to drive to downtown. Nobody really needs to worry about living there. And the ghost of that decision still haunts a lot of cities to this day. And then New York is, of course, it's like a beta test for Coruscant, the city planet in Star Wars, for those of you who don't know. Okay, got that out of my system. Opening question for you, aside from that preamble. And we talked about prior to the recording that some people they need some time to work out the answer to this question. But let's do this. Tell us what you do and what are you up to these days?
It's not just what I do; it's what I try to do, which is way too much.
Yep.
Mostly, pretty much everything's in the beauty space. But it's not just beauty products, but it could be the technology behind the products that we're doing. So we have a couple apps with Shopify. We have an influencer marketing platform. I have 5 showrooms, physical showrooms, retail showrooms, like those things people go in, not just e-commerce. So we have 5 of those, about to launch number 6, working on number 7. Um, we have celebrity partnerships for different beauty brands and cosmetics. So we're the behind the scenes, and we kind of partner with them to run the whole back end customer service, packing and shipping the orders, where they run the front end of being like the celebrity and having it on their TV shows and huge Instagram followings and such like that. I just recently published a book called Fearless Beauty. It's an honest approach to entrepreneurship, whether you're in the beauty industry or not. I think it's fabulous, obviously. And I think that's, we we have hosts. We host about 1,000 websites that we built. We build websites. We have a branding division, so people come to us. We can do your logos and all sorts of branding, packaging, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, we do a lot. That's just pretty much, that's the major stuff that I can roll off the top of my head.
Well, there's certainly a lot to work with there. And I'm like, geez, what do I want to do first? Okay, here's what I want to do first. I want to talk about the showrooms, because I like to think about like the overall arc of our podcast and what have we not had too many opportunities to talk about. So the more distinct the opportunity, the more I want to lean into it. So with the showrooms, I think the one thing that's on most of our listeners' mind is, wait a minute, people can go to physical locations. So I picture a showroom, and I got to tell you, I don't even know where I'm going to find one. I mean, do I go to say one of our malls? Our showrooms in there taking up the same kind of spot that a retail store takes up?
Generally not. We're not in any malls. We're in a couple shopping centers. But okay. Like our main location, we actually own. So other thing we do is some real estate where it's important for us to have physical assets within our business. So we actually, our headquarters and main showroom here in Atlanta, we actually own the property outright. We own the building next door that we use as an office and has a beautiful kitchen for our staff and everything else. But you go into the showroom and they are very well designed, absolutely beautiful. It's literally like walking into a Gucci store, but for hair, without the Gucci prices. We are very competitive, generally 30 to 40% lower than most retail. I don't want to say necessarily competitors, because our competitors aren't really in the US. But if you're going to walk into a retail showroom for hair extensions, wigs, lashes, we're generally about 30 to 40% less. But it's an overall experience when you walk into our showrooms with absolutely the best customer service, product knowledge. We really focus on that showroom experience.
While this is happening, and we're in this trend that continues. If you look at like the sales, for instance, of this last Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and how much of it was online, is how are you ensuring that it's really worth your while, given the heightened incentive to shop from home?
The numbers don't lie. I mean, it just comes down to numbers. It comes down to our client base with our products. If they can go to a place where they can actually touch and feel the product, there's definitely some products that you just love. People love to see in person. And honestly, hair is one of them, because too many times people are duped with products online, especially stuff coming from China, where, they show you one thing. I mean, we've seen the thousands of memes of like, they showed me this and I got that, and it's a disaster. And hair is our average, our average order value is around $250. So people are coming in and making large purchases. So they definitely feel very comfortable going into a showroom in doing so.
I appreciate that. And for those of you who are familiar with Toronto, I live relatively close to Yorkdale Mall. It's one of the more high-end malls in town, which means that, I just periodically visit there, not exactly a routine shopper there or anything like that. But one of the I'm calling it store, just out of habit, that I had visited was for Casper mattresses. And the thing that I appreciate about that store is that you don't get the impression that they are desperate to sell the mattress on the day. They have a healthy online ecosystem. There's a lot of brand awareness, and people do sell. They do make sales in person. Being able to actually physically go in there and test it out and try the mattress for ourselves is, even you can guarantee people, oh yeah, we'll give you 1,000 days. It's actually 100, but my point is, we'll give you 1,000 days to try this out. If you're not happy, send it back. If people are like, I don't care if I'm getting the money back, I don't want to put up with this, with the hassle of this and the time lost. So What I think this has done is that it's given the physical space almost like this relief where now, they can justify having a physical location, not just for sales, not just for profitability, but also to present the brand in the exact precise way. And and this is what I want to ask you about is also, in the behavior and in the personality that you allow the staff to have, because it's one thing for staff to be on that on mode where they have to constantly like try to drive sales, try to push upsells. Oh yeah, how are you doing today? That coffee is great. What would go great with that coffee? This purse. So whereas when that pressure is taken off, people can just focus on the brand, focus on talking about the product, focus on the enthusiasm. So can you tell us a little bit more about what it's like to train staff and what are the priorities that they really need to focus on when they're dealing with customers, working with customers?
Oh, for sure. So our staff, it's, we definitely have upsell products, and that's something that actually helps our customer, because before, when we sold just a wig, what they would next have to do is go to a beauty supply store and buy the glue for it, or there's a bunch of different accessories with it. The fact that we started adding those into our showroom, all under the private label brand, which is the brand name for our retail showrooms, customers are absolutely delighted because they say, now you're the one-stop shop where I can get this great wig and all the accessories needed. So our upsells process is not really that the typical where it's just so incredibly obvious. Mm-hmm. It is more an education component about, hey, you're going to have this product, but to really get the most out of this product, we have these other items. This is how you use them. This is what you do. And you're going to have a much overall better experience with everything. And our clients really appreciate that. They love the products, and it really just works.
It just reminded me this story. It's been a while since it came to my mind, but I did used to work in a store. I don't want to name names because I don't want it to come across like I'm trying to denigrate them or anything. But I had to make a certain amount of sales, each day. And somebody that I had known, he walks in. He used to look after us when we were kids, and he was kind of like a family friend. And we hadn't spoken in quite a few years, but he had come in looking for a bag, and I was wrestling with the nostalgia of our previous relationship with the I have to make a certain amount of sales today, or I'm not going to get my hours. And actually, the last time that I had seen him was at the funeral for one of his loved ones, and I had never really talked about that too. And so there's just this debate going on in my mind of like, well, how much do I really try to sell to him? How much do I value my job versus this relationship? He walks out the door. He didn't buy anything. I feel like, wow, I got the worst out of both of that. So it's a challenging space, but when you're really focusing on the customer's best interests, and as you say, we have all of what you need here, and you will save it here, not only money, but you also save time, not having to look into multiple stores only for them to have their own agendas as well. Because it's one thing for somebody to walk into a store, only pick up like the little accessories and not be able to buy any of the major profitable products that they have in those stores. So they've got their own challenges as well. All right. Here's something that I noticed. I've had a few recordings with people in the hair niche. I don't think we necessarily had an agenda for it. It's not like we were we got to have at least 10 hair niche conversations. It's just been happening. I think this is either the third or the fourth. And it's not surprising that there's a lot of people working in, because most people have experience with hair, but I haven't talked to anybody in the sleep industry, even though most people have experience with sleep. And I think it comes to this limitation that, sleep is largely an objective thing. You're either getting it or you're not. And if you're not getting good sleep, there's usually some objective reasons for it. But hair is style-based, and it's subjective. Everybody has different views of what it is that they want to have on their head. So that's the observation. But my question to you is, how much of your brands and, other clients that you work with, how much of the success do you attribute to the style of the product? And then how much do you attribute to, the quality and making sure that it's not like what people end up getting when they order from China?
Yeah, it's, quality always comes first, because at the end of the day, clients are generally styling whatever product they get. Having the trending styles and the way you can construct certain styles and wigs or extensions is a very important thing that we're very focused on. And actually, if you're watching this, you look at me and it's like, how does this guy even know anything about hair extensions, wigs, this, that, the other? Well, like anything, I didn't have any experience with it, and I learned and ramped up quickly. And I usually tell people it's okay if you don't have experience in the field you're getting into, because everyone starts out with zero experience, right? So the goal is to absolutely immerse yourself into whatever that subject is to become an expert. So, kind of my right-hand man is, his name is Dallas Christopher. He's a partner in the company, and he's, I think, one of the greatest hairstylists in the US. He's been a Paul Mitchell National Educator for 10 years. And last year, moved him over full-time with me. So it's really about different customers are going to have different expectations, but really you have to do the best you can on the product side, and then just have a more diverse product offering, and always listen to your clients. A lot of our a lot of our styles and products were developed by listening to our clients.
So one of the things that you said there is, you don't necessarily have to be an expert on the subject. That expertise comes with it, and I also see an additional benefit to it, which is not going in with your own preconceived notions of what it should be based off, let's just say you were an expert on it, and you might have this motivation to want to focus more on how you see things rather than try to tell the customers what they want. It is something that I can see happening in this situation. So with that said, what was it about hair in specific that, assuming that, maybe there was other things you could choose from, was it just happenstance, or, what got you into the hair industry in the first place?
It's one of those things where it just kind of happened. It was not planned. It was something I wasn't thinking about. It's actually, I was just out to lunch with my business partner, and we started talking about it and started looking at the industry and researching. And I said, wow, this is a really big industry. And we first started talking about it back in 2013, where there were very few online retailers for hair extensions and wigs. So I said, hey, this could be a huge opportunity here, and just kind of jumped in, and it's just kept growing and growing. And it's much bigger today than I ever thought I would even grow any business. So it's worked out well, learned a lot along the way, made plenty of mistakes along the way. It's not always just about, I have a passion now for hair, but I didn't when I first got started, obviously. And a lot of people, that happens to a lot of us. You just start falling in love with the product. I'm a product guy at the end of the day. So sometimes it's kind of can be plug and play with any product that I really like, that you just become an expert in the product. I spend time overseas working directly with manufacturers. We partner on certain projects now. So it's just become something that it is every single day. This is what I do, and I love it. But what's been great about it is, we've helped thousands of people start their own hair and beauty business. So getting into the drop shipping side, getting into the technology side, building websites and all that. That's something that I've always been a technology guy. So this has been phenomenal and such an exciting experience to be able to wrap all this into one major project.
Right. And you certainly created an ecosystem, the likes of which I've yet to, meet anybody else to compare it to. You have a partnership with Shopify. You have your warehouse, you have a influencer platform, and it seems like you're now, maybe it wasn't an intentional goal, but it seems like a result of your actions has been to have a fully functioning, sustainable ecosystem where, you're not only working on the ground level with, individual consumers, but you're working with other sellers as well. And you're working on the back end as well. So do you mind taking us through, I guess, the process for how, you go from entering into this with an open mind to really running a major component of the hair niche industry as it is?
It all started with getting into it. We had more of an affiliate system when we first got started, but like I said, we listened to our customers like nobody else in the industry. We actually have one of the largest Facebook groups, actually the largest Facebook group for running and managing a hair business with over 38,000 members, very active group. So I get a lot of feedback there. So it's just one of those things. We continue to listen to them. We had like this affiliate model that we scratched in 2015, 16. Everyone wanted to sell their own brand. So I said, okay, let's create a drop shipping model, right? Drop shipping in 2015, 2016 was just starting to get hot, right? So I told everybody, I told the staff on Friday, about 4 of us, guys, I got this great idea. I basically spent morning, day, and night working on setting up our first drop shipping system. On Monday, they came into work. I said, guys, this is our new drop shipping system, right? So we started that. They're like, oh, cool. So we explain all people have to do is set up their website. We'll show them some training videos, blah, blah, blah. Well, it was cool to have this drop shipping system, but then nobody could finish their websites. Like it was just this huge roadblock. So I was just like, holy cow, this is a huge opportunity. We can build the websites for people because I've always been a web guy, pretty much all my life. So I was like, wow, this is great. So then set up the website. Then they started asking about like branding and all this other stuff. I said, hey, let's create our own branding division. Yeah. So I create that. At this point, there's nothing I don't feel like I can do. Then I was like, okay, how can we further automate the drop shipping system, right? Let's create our own drop shipping system with Shopify. Now, I'll tell you, I created one way early, and Shopify, I couldn't really get approved with Shopify because Shopify payments didn't really want to process payments for hair extensions back years ago. Well, come 2018 or late 2017, someone from Shopify reached out to me because they saw one of my blog posts and was like, hey, we see your blog post about this. Can you come, to our headquarters and talk about it? I said, heck yeah, I'll come up to Ottawa. So I got invited to the headquarters. I showed them all the data and kind of talked about the hair industry as a whole and what was going on with it and how we built this drop shipping system for Shopify. And I had to can it because you guys weren't processing the payments. Convince them to say, hey, okay, you can build it again and we'll process payments. Ended up working out fantastic. And that's continued to grow. I have big plans for it over the next year. And then, along the way, we, influencer marketing got big and I was using these other platforms and people were just pissing me off with their platforms. So I said, I'll just build my own and it'll just be focused on beauty. So it's kind of like one of those things, everyone built these like really wide influencer platforms where it's just everything. I said, kind of like a Craigslist. I said, hey, I'm just going to do beauty, kind of like Airbnb just did, the housing. So I just did beauty. We use it. We have tons of users, built a Shopify app for that as well. And then you're definitely right about the ecosystem and it's really having control because generally you have, in today's market, you have the technology side that is like Oberlo for Shopify, right? So they are just a technology and they connect with suppliers, right? And the Ali Dropship and all these other ones. Where we're very unique is we own the whole process where we are actually the products shipping from USA, so no e-packets and all that other mess. And we are the technology. So we have the whole spectrum and everything else you need to be able to launch really quick. So it's kind of a unique position that we're in.
Right. And I can imagine that people wanting to get into the niche, I think that a lot of them would be, more intrigued or, more motivated to get into it, knowing that they're going to be working with someone who has, an ecosystem where the quality is kept tabs on from beginning to end. And I imagine in all of that as well, you also have shipping, which is a pretty big component for all of this. So how do you handle shipping? Are you just working with, say, like how Aftership would do it, where they just have pretty much every shipping company on the face of the planet all connected to them? Or how did you work that part out?
So we ship all the products in-house. Our technology, we use ShipStation. So they have an API. So some of our other platforms, they all plug into ShipStation. Works out pretty well, actually. We ship everything currently from Atlanta. But next year, I'm already looking for spaces. We will be opening up a showroom in the front, distribution in the back, probably 5 to 10,000 square foot facility in Vegas. So that's 2022's goal, is to open up Vegas. So all the West Coast shipments will be coming from Vegas. It'll cut down the shipping costs and shipping times, a lot more happier customers. And then for 2023 will probably be something along the middle line, like a Chicago, Houston, Dallas, somewhere where we have a big market, as well as we can do the shipping from there. From a logistical standpoint, that's really important to me because customers that order hair extensions want them immediately, generally a very last minute purchaser. So instead of trying to change the customer, we have to fix ourselves in our business by being able to serve the customers better. And that is basically kind of an Amazon model where Amazon has warehouses everywhere. we'll eventually get to that point, but we like to own the real estate as well. Moving forward, we do have some leases, but moving forward. So the shipping part is very important. That kind of segues into people are like, wow, you have 4 locations, soon to be 4 locations in Atlanta. I said, yeah, I'm going to have 6. And they say, oh, wow, that's huge. But, getting into e-commerce and how it all ties in, which is something that I think over the next 5 years, people are going to get into a lot more, but it's not as big now, is basically I'm casting a web all over Atlanta. So within 2022, many orders that are in Atlanta that are actually ordered online, they will be delivered within 1 hour because I have the web all over Atlanta, and Atlanta's the largest market for our products. Basically, one of the drivers that, there's Uber Rush, there's we've talked to Roadie, who's actually has a pretty good system. So like a Roadie will pick it up. So if it's in northern Atlanta, they're not going to pick it up from our main hub. They're going to pick it up from our store that's in northern Atlanta to deliver only 10 minutes away. You cut your cost, time, and everything else. So basically in 2022, when I'm done with my whole Atlanta ecosystem and 1 hour shipping, which is soon going to be the expectation, I think it's going to be something that our clients are going to be really excited about. And then we can move it to other cities, but we got to start in Atlanta first because we're here.
With getting something within an hour, I can see like a few specific scenarios where that would be that would be ideal. Like if somebody has an event that night, and they have to get there and have to get that extension. So I can certainly understand situations like that. But so is your goal, so I understand, is your goal for that to be the norm, and you want that to be like the thing that customers are going to be able to routinely expect?
Currently, and that's where you have to be careful because of the expectation. So currently we're doing more of a manual process where we're reviewing the order, the distance from where we are, and we're actually reaching out to the customer directly. We actually have one of our managers call and say, hey, Miss So-and-so, it looks like you ordered this product today. Thank you so much. Now, I know you generally would expect this to ship today and you get it in 1 to 2 days, but we're working on a new program where we can get this to you within the next hour or 2. Are you going to be at this address where you ordered the product, and would it be okay if we got it to you in the next hour? Oh my God. Like the customers are freaking out. You also have to think a lot of our clients are hairstylists. So what hairstylists have to do is they make money behind the chair. Every time they have to leave the chair to go get a product, that's costing them money. If they know that we can get them to the hair and they don't have to keep driving, I mean, people take Ubers to us all the time. If they know that they can get it within a certain time period and they can continue to make money, where on the back end we're supplying with the products, it's a huge win for everyone. And
then with the cost itself of the delivery, even I, in my 102 class that I peg myself in, is, once if a truck or a plane or ship, the more volume you can put onto it, the more profitable it is. Whereas if we're talking about really like one extension here, that seems to me like this is going to be the biggest challenge for it to, maintain a healthy profit margin. So does this fall to the drivers to be wise about their pickups by making sure that they pick up enough products and that they're delivering enough of it? Is the onus on you to make sure that the cost of delivery is still worth the while?
Yeah, that's a great question, because what we look at now is if an order is $50, it doesn't really make sense to do this, right? Because there's just not enough margin. So we're actually right now, definitely when we do this, we're losing $5-6 per shipment relative to, the shipping costs that is actually collected. Okay. So I have to think of it as almost a marketing expense for that extra $5-7, because the customer experience is something they've never experienced in the hair industry before by getting it so fast. They're posting it on social media like, oh my God, I got it. Like, I got my hair in an hour. Like, who does this? So it depends on how you, in your head as the entrepreneur and owner or whatever, how you really pitch it as. And, you remind the customer about like, hey, make sure you share your experience. You have to kind of nudge them a little bit politely. It goes a long way. So, I mean, how much do you pay someone with thousands of followers to post something that they purchased something on Instagram? a lot of time, most purchases aren't getting posted, but when you do something in an hour, they're so excited and the expectation is exceeded so greatly. They're more than happy to do so. I don't know. It's a good dollar, dollar average there for the marketing expense.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you're willing to, this is just my understanding of it. If you're willing to treat it as a loss leader, it's one thing for that to be okay. We sell them on that, but then they can come to our store. But not only is it about coming to a showroom, but it is also maybe them becoming influencers themselves and realizing that there's so much more opportunity available to them. So somewhere, there has to be in marketing, somewhere there has to be a calculated risk. And if you can actually integrate that with still delivering on the product, that's a pretty good way to handle the situation, I got to say.
Yeah, we also have a wholesale system. So we partnered with one of our manufacturers overseas, and the goal is to, they pay the real shipping price. So shipping overseas, whether it's 2 wigs and it's $22 to ship, or 10 wigs and it's $30-$40 to ship. The goal is to start also being able to, on certain orders, be able to get those orders to the clients where they expect it to show up in a week because it's coming from overseas, to get it within that short time period as well. We could actually make a lot of extra money on the shipping cost that was charged versus, the delivery. They are more than happy to have it delivered in an hour. They're not even worried about what they paid for shipping because they expected to get it in a week because it's a much lower cost per product. So they're getting the deal of a lifetime online. But if we can exceed the expectation there as well, it is 100% game changer. Because I said, our local showrooms and competition, our competition is not here in the US for hair. The competition is China. It's mostly China. They have football fields of people that literally, and I've been there, they literally sit there all day. They are absolutely blasting people on WhatsApp, on Instagram, DMs, all this stuff, contact all day. They go to every one of your followers, contact every single one. Those are our competition. I'm not worried about the people in the US, to be honest.
Having talked about the hair niche for a good little while here, it's I've come to realize that we really want to make sure that we bring the book into all of this, because I think a lot of what we're talking about is in relation to it. So the name of the book is Fearless Beauty. Quick warm-up question before I get to the main one, which is, where did the name for that come from?
That's a good question. So I was working with my publishing company on that and said, okay, we got to come up with a name. And I was like, okay. It's one of those things, how I name businesses and everything else. Generally, it's going to be 2 words. And, you have to think of one that kind of is more a descriptor and one is kind of more that physical thing, or beauty is not necessarily physical. Well, it's physical, like physical products. So I just kind of had to put 2 words together that really made sense. And for me, it's all about being fearless in entrepreneurship, because a lot of us are held back from doing amazing things as entrepreneurs only because we're scared. It's not that we don't have the capability to do so. We're just scared to do so. And then beauty, being in the beauty industry, it's funny, the book, if you read the whole book, you'll notice that it's not necessarily, I'm not sitting there or, I didn't write all about beauty. But when you do your first book, you really have to niche down. Otherwise, you're not going to sell any copies. So I'm in the beauty industry. So I figured, okay, because I did a lot of research how to do a successful book. So I said, okay, it's got to be talk about beauty, because people will, in the beauty industry, it'll be an easier sell before, people know my books are good. So it was just about being fearless in the beauty industry. It just made sense.
And, according to your description, so you had, it says that, you had one idea that set you apart from the industry, and that was your advantage. I think we might have talked about it, which is, your ability to build out the whole infrastructure yourself. I guess that's my educated guess on it. But if you can tell us, what was it that really set you apart from the industry?
Really, I think we do a better job of listening to our customers than anybody else. I mean, it really comes down to everything that I built was because it was a need of one of our customers. And day in, day out, I listened to our clients, and we are so client focused. And I think that's what's really helped us grow our business, because people know we actually care. Even whether you're walking into the showroom, the online experience, the shipping experiences, if something goes wrong, we put a plan in place to fix it. We just don't keep touching that hot stove. So I think that's something that, And then being allowed to, after all the different projects I've done over the last, my whole life of entrepreneurship, it's allowed me to be able to build out and get the teams to help build out all the products and services we offer to make someone successful in the industry.
And this is something that stuck out to me because you made a very careful and conscious effort to receive the information, receive the feedback from your customers, and make sure that their needs are being met. And an equally conscious effort not to try to influence their behavior, try to tell them what they want. What I'm wondering is if any of that has happened anyways. If it was maybe you unintentionally found some way that you were actually changing the conversation of, and not just the hair niche, or as far as the industry as you had an influence over.
Yeah, it really comes nothing too much to do with the actual hair products, because people are kind of set on what they like. But it's from a technology standpoint, I definitely have been pretty adamant about, the one simple thing I actually talk about in my book is getting on the right platform. I do not know people that are successful in e-commerce on Wix sites. People get on Wix because they spend a ton of money on marketing. Squarespace, spend a ton of money on marketing. Like I said earlier, MailChimp's right over here. Yeah, they sold for a lot of money, but honestly, MailChimp as a e-commerce provider for a newsletter and email provider for e-commerce, I don't think they're a good service anymore. I even told them, because I see some of the MailChimp people, I was like, you guys lost focus. For me, it was mostly a technology play where I said, initially, we really recommended WordPress and Shopify. Now we're pretty strict on just recommending people to get on Shopify. And a lot of it comes down to the ecosystem Shopify has built is hands down, I think, the best. The products and services that Shopify themselves offer, like 24/7 customer support. For $30 a month, that basic program, you can't beat that. So that offloaded a lot of the customer service that WordPress, because it's like you get on WordPress, you have a problem, they're always contacting us. There's no one else, unless you hire some expensive developer. They have people are lost, right? People in the beauty industry aren't necessarily all tech savvy, so they need some extra assistance. That's where Shopify came in. So it was more of technology recommendations of what we really thought was good relative to like actual styles or products.
Yeah, what I will say, just from my own point of view, I've had next to no experience with Wix or Squarespace either, but I do listen to a fair amount of podcasts, and Squarespace does tend to come up a lot as a sponsor. I do see a lot of Wix advertisements on YouTube. And I think what I found about those platforms is that they are more geared towards people who have like pre-existing brands, where they're, the individual is the brand. If they have a presence on YouTube or something like that, then they tend to lean more towards those websites because they want to maintain a consistency in the way their brand looks. So that's what I see them doing, but it doesn't have. I agree with you. It doesn't have the same brass tacks that Shopify does. Shopify gives people the means to build their brand from scratch, and I think utilize the other social media platforms as well to help create their own ecosystem.
Yeah, Shopify is big. I love Shopify being a publicly traded company because they need to continually innovate and make money as a platform to appease their investors. So it's something that they're always going to push the needle with technology, which I think is so important. All the integrations with now TikTok and all the social platforms, like you said, is huge. They're a huge company, so they can, contact whatever new platform and be like, hey, we need to do an integration right away to keep up with everything. And they're always going to say, yeah, because Shopify is the big one. So it just makes sense.
Actually, one thing that was news to me as well in this conversation is that Shopify, I didn't expect there to be working relationships with people such as yourself who are handling the product infrastructure. This is in my naivety, I guess. I just thought that Shopify really just focuses on the back end, and then as far as products go, people are kind of on their own. So they reached out to you. They were willing to work with you, and you had to cross a certain threshold, I think, for them to be able to do that. So just remind us what exactly is that threshold, and like how would somebody else maybe in a different niche be able to cross that threshold? What is it exactly that makes this partnership at that scale?
Well, actually, it's funny because when we first started talking to them, our main private label extensions.com, our main website, was still on WordPress. So when we started working with them, it was not even from a the aspect of we had all this other business. So the threshold was we were basically not on Shopify at all. So after we built this, and then I saw Shopify was really pushing the needle 2018, 2019, really 2019 on everything, we switched our entire platform over to Shopify Plus, which was a major move. I mean, I spent over $250,000 in 2018 just on blogs, right? We published 1,000, probably average 2,000 word blog posts in 2018, 1,000. I lost 75% of my SEO just switching over to Shopify. A lot of it's come back, but it's taken 2 years to come back. I actually had someone from Shopify, they get weird about who it is and names and stuff, but I had someone from Shopify. They actually came down to Atlanta and worked out of my office for a week, just was watching everything we do and was just really impressed. So they could report back to the teams. And he noticed I was using Square. And he's like, Mikey, why are you using Square? I was like, man, they have a great point of sale. I was like, I've looked at Shopify's, but there's a few things that you guys need to improve. He goes, man, it would be great if you got on Shopify. And I said, you know what? Let's go upstairs and order all the equipment now. It's like, I'll just wait for Shopify to update everything. And I mean, just our point of sale, we process millions of dollars of transactions a year. And Shopify loves transactions. Like, we know Shop Pay and all that is really Stripe. Shop Pay Installments is a firm, but they still get a cut of all that. And it's just easy money for them. So as you start processing more volume, then they start to really like you. And, they will, it depends on who like going to the conferences stuff, which now we can't go, kind of sucks, obviously, because it was probably right down the street from you, Shopify Unite. But really, it's not just Shopify, it's anything in business is building relationships, right? And you have to be really good at building relationships with your partners and everybody you work with so you guys can do more together. So really, it's not just how do you work with Shopify? It's how do you work with more people? It's just be stronger at building relationships.
2 more questions for you. And then I have some, I guess, more wind down questions because we're nearing the hour mark. So this one, I with everybody in the hair niche that I speak to, I always want to ask them, what's their how do we really talk about the true innate value of hair? I mean, it's one thing for it to look pretty, but there's more to it than that. It gives people confidence. It gives people a sense of their own autonomy. One of them talked about how somebody was a cancer survivor and wore a wig to reclaim some of their identity that they felt they lost after chemo. So, and from your point of view, you could perhaps speak of an individual who bought an extension and it really made a difference for them, or a wig. You could also talk about influencers that you were able to really boost a platform for. So, from your point of view, what are the true values of hair? I know it sounds so like corny the way I ask it like that, but it is what it is.
No, it's true. I mean, hair is so important to so many people, right? So the cancer part is really close to us at Private Label. We have people within our organization that have struggled with cancer. Me, myself, 2 times dealing with cancer. Luckily, I caught it early both times. Otherwise, the first time I would not be here today. There's no way. And so cancer is something that's really important to us. We've actually donated hundreds of wigs over the years and done different things for people. You can see when we bring someone in that's maybe a cancer patient or something, we'll do like a prom makeover for someone that some people just need that, like that extra something. You can see it in their face, like in just how they feel and the confidence and everything else. And that's why for me, I'm never about what style someone should wear, short hair, long hair. It's just whatever you want. Like what's going to make you happy. That's what's most important to us. But that gets important part about our business too. We do as much as we can to give back to our community that supports us. Within our Facebook group, I actually give a laptop away every single week, a brand new laptop. A lot of people are trying to run businesses just from their cell phone. You're at a huge disadvantage. I think you would definitely agree. You can manage a business from there, but you can't really build a business from a cell phone, right? It's easy.
Yeah, you can check for updates. Like if there's a fire, you'll find out on your phone first. But
right. So it just goes into everything we do within the business is really to also help people and our clients. And hair is obviously an important component of that as being the product. But it's something that is just so important to people, both men and women. that it's amazing to be able to make them really happy. And especially because we've done a really good job at our price point of offering the types of products that, you're generally, if in the US, you'd be paying a lot more for, but because we've reinvested the business, we don't have like a mortgage on our main property and all this, we can be really affordable for a lot of clients. And what we've also done is, as much as I know hair and I'm like, okay, this is the best hair, this is what everyone should be wearing. Not everybody can afford this. So we have some other really good low cost options because a lot of people just don't have the budget, right? So you have to be very conscious about, not everybody has the privilege of buying the best hair and all this other stuff. I mean, I supply hair to, we don't talk about who our real clients are, but some of the biggest names that everyone follows that wear like really long hair. I'm kind of the guy that a lot of people go to. I mean, talking the top most followed celebrities in the world have worn hair that's from my office, so it's just giving people what they want and just doing it with a purpose.
That's amazing. There is one celebrity, and I'm not like a massive fan, but once we turn off the recording, I'm going to ask you just they're going to shoot that one in the dark. I won't actually, you're probably not going to want to tell me due to confidentiality.
I won't tell you. I can tell you off camera. I don't care as long as it's not recorded. But
okay.
Just it's we don't really flaunt, like a lot of people in the hair industry. They really flaunt who their clients are, but because we're behind the scenes of a lot of people, like we're good. We don't need to do that. We're not posting all these. It would help our business a lot, but it would also alienate our business on the back end because we're alienating the clients that we supply that are supplying to the big celebrities.
You're probably, I imagine, not only are you keeping your eye on your plans, you're talking about what you want to do in 2022, 2023. Is any emerging tech or any of the, I was about like semi, augmented reality or virtual reality, or is there anything along those lines on your radar at the moment?
Yeah, I'm actually, I really like that. The ideas for those, we actually worked with a developer for the space with Spark AR to be able to put on our actual lashes, right? So you can actually go, I believe it's on the private label, the Instagram, you can go to like the filters and you can put on like a lash filter and it'll actually put the style lashes on. We're going to do the same with some of our cosmetics products. It gets really a lot more challenging with hair because it's just hair, the way it moves, the way it looks and the styles. But I think we're getting really close to the point where it can be done very well. I didn't want to be first out of the gate with this just because I don't know what the return on investment is. And necessarily first out of the gate with some of these products or using some of these products doesn't mean that you're going to get the best rewards. I'd rather kind of sit back a little bit, let the technology develop to where, it's not me paying all the money to develop it when someone can just build more of an out-of-box system that works really well and maybe needs a little bit of customizing. That usually works out better for me, but I think it's definitely something that is going to be bigger in the beauty industry. You can already with your app, place a chair in your living room and see what it looks like. And I love that kind of stuff. I mean, it's really cutting edge, but for beauty, it'll be interesting to see how far we can go with the hair. I mean, with glasses, with Warby Parker does it, all this other kind of stuff. So I think we're at the point where something a lot more complex is going to be possible.
Yeah. And I think all of this is really in the efforts to continue finding ways to save people time. Because one of the things that I would find is if somebody take time to go and they're not really sure what they're looking for and they're shopping around and they use up all of this, what ends up happening is that they end up making a purchase just because they don't want to let all of that time go to waste. And so the more ways people can save time and have more confidence in what they're doing, I think leads to a healthier marketplace.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And the people that can integrate it and use it properly and market it. It's one thing to have it, but to be able to market it properly and let people know the advantages of using this, AR system or something else, that's also part of the process, but it can be very, very powerful.
One more on subject, and then I'm going to give you one other one that's more of like a wind down question. It looks like I'm going to steal you for a few extra minutes. Hope you don't mind.
I'm good. No, I'm good.
Excellent. Love it. So for people who are, interested in getting into this, they think that that the hair niche is a good place for them. How can they, enter this ecosystem you've created and get themselves started?
Yeah, we have a bunch of websites. You could first start by going to privatelabelextensions.com. You can see the dropshipping system at dropshipbundles.com. We have privatelabelbranding.com. They all link together. If you want wholesale, it's privatelabelwholesale.com. So, there's links to all the websites to kind of go through it. But we've built a lot behind it. I'm actually working on starting a hair brand from scratch and doing like a YouTube kind of documentary on it. And then at the end of the documentary, I'm giving away the hair brand. So that's on my YouTube channel, Hair Business Blueprint, which has been fun making these videos and seeing all the comments and everything else. That's something I'm definitely going to be working on more in 2022 is the YouTube channel, because it's, once again, very, very powerful and more people are on YouTube now than ever. So yeah, that's an easy way, the main websites. And then you can kind of, you'll go down the rabbit hole of information because we've got a lot. And, the key is, before you get too excited about it and say, oh, wow, I don't know all these people that maybe could buy hair from me, is make sure you spend some time educating yourself about the products, everything that's involved, because we do make it easy for you to set up your brand. That does not mean you will be successful. It takes a while to be successful, no matter how many tools you have. And that's where a lot of new entrepreneurs get lost and kind of, hit failure because they think it's going to happen overnight, because it looks like that on Instagram.
Yeah. The how does it go? It's like the 20-year overnight success, something along those lines. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. All right. So here's my wind down question for you. This is totally off topic, but one of the things that stuck out to me from your LinkedIn profile is, you are largely self-taught. In your previous business with Curry Simple. I don't know if you're really quick. Are you still working in that, or is that in somebody else's hands?
No. So Curry Simple's gone. I have people. Yeah, so many people want me to bring it back, but I'm like, it's not in beauty. I'm not doing it.
Fair enough. Yeah, you got to. I respect that. You got to focus. But one thing that stuck out is that you taught yourself everything you needed to know, and I think the echoes of that have come with you into this as well. Whereas with school, not so much. It didn't really work for you. And I love talking about this because, with a lot of the content that I listen to in my off time, we talk about how different industries. Oh, actually, I remember this was a Christian Leverage episode I listened to recently about how a lot of these industries, they change and they advance and rather rapidly, but the educational system has grown. Like, we have online learning, we have remote learning, but the core foundation is over 100 years old at this point and is in desperate need of some restructuring. The counterpoint is that, and this is from another previous guest, Amy Hunt, who is a teacher, and she said, the thing that's really important for people growing up is, they need that structure, because without that, they don't. Even if they end up rejecting it, they still need that to start their development. So, from your point of view, where was your learning really at its best? Was it when you dove into business and just taught yourself on a day-to-day basis?
For sure, I didn't learn anything in middle school, high school. I learned how to type. That's people say, well, what's the best thing you learned? I learned how to type. Getting school, I was in high school a long time ago now, in the early 90s. So like having computers in your school was actually a big deal. And I learned how to type. And I think that's helped me more than, for me personally, I'm not a lawyer or a doctor where school is very important, but for me personally, I didn't learn anything in the schools. I was working full time in high school anyway. So, I was doing homework in between the 8 minutes in between class. I wasn't set up to learn in high school, even though I was at a very phenomenal high school. I was very lucky to grow up in the area I did grow up with, living with my grandmother and my mom. So yeah, school didn't work for me. It wasn't going to happen.
Is there anything that you'd like to see for the future, for new generations growing up, and how things might, like you say, it does work for some people, but for the people who it doesn't work for, is what would be the path for them? Or is it really just a matter of they have to figure out their own way?
Well, I think school is set up to create employees for businesses. If you really think about it, right? There's very little about entrepreneurship, about credit, and understanding what credit does. We talk about it as adults all the time. Like, why didn't they teach us any of this stuff in school? There's I'm sure there's a 1,000,000-page Reddit on this stuff. Like, they need to have some more kind of topics in classes and such that's actually actionable in life, more life lessons kind of things, maybe bringing in entrepreneurs to speak and all this kind of stuff, like people that are local business owners and stuff. Like, I think that kind of stuff is so important, instead of just, I'll never forget because my girlfriend was making fun of me. I didn't know about something that happened in history. I was like, Mary Margaret, my history teacher literally stood there for 45 minutes and lectured 45 minutes straight. No questions. That's it.
Yeah.
Within 30 seconds, my mind was bing. I learned zero. I mean, I think they just wanted me out of the class. Right? Because there's no way I'm passing this class. I mean, I barely made it. I was like 1.9 in high school. I got my transcript. I found my transcript like 20 something years later. And we looked at it. We were like, oh. She's like, wow, you were really bad in school. I was like, they weren't teaching me what I wanted to learn.
Yeah. I still have nightmares once in a while where I'm like, I'm late for class for the entire semester. And there's like, no way I'm going to make up for it. Yeah. In a weird way, it compels people into entrepreneurship by being so against that mindset that people have. Part of the inspiration to do that is to reject that structure, and not just school, but as you say, also employment too. And then I'll just make this one other point, and then I'll wrap this bad boy up. But one thing that I always found kind of funny is, people talk about how, man, I miss being younger. Yeah, I had like no responsibilities. Now I'm an adult, I have all these responsibilities. And I'm just scratching my head thinking, when I was a kid, that was probably when I had like the most amount of responsibilities. I had to go to school basically like a 9 to 5, a little shorter than that, like an 8 to 3. And then there was homework. And I had to do that for, I don't know, 15 years out of my life. Now I don't work that many hours unless I want to. Like now I have full control. I feel more free now than I ever did when I was in school.
Yeah, is interesting. But also how many employees do you have in your business?
In our company, ballpark like 70 to 80 people.
But don't you feel that pressure and the responsibility of those 70, 80 people?
That I feel the pressure to be responsible to them. I do. Yeah. There is pressure, but at least like, when the clock stops, the pressure stops. And I have my other days to do other things, and I don't, and but I do see where you're going with this though.
Yeah. That's what, for me, like for the responsibility, my day to day is whatever I want my day to day. Like you're like, can you spend extra minutes? I'm like, yeah, of course. This is awesome. Like, this is important, very important part of my day. Right. And it's very, I feel great to be at this point to be able to do that. But yeah, going back to not being it depends. People's like, oh, you work all the time. I was like, I haven't worked a day this whole year. What are you talking about? I'm having the time of my life. Mm-hmm. It's always more fun when things are working out really well for you, right? Mm-hmm. But that also, things working out well for you is a result of a lot of things that didn't work out well for you, that you fixed, experienced, you kept pushing and going, and now you're here. Right. I actually just posted a video about this on my Instagram about getting started as an entrepreneur, selling lemonade at, 10 or whatever. And I was like, I run an 8-figure company because as a result of 30 years of being an entrepreneur. It's actually a little over 30 years. Like it's going to take time, but time is our ultimate asset. Right. So you're going to do at this point, I'm sure, what is best for your time. I'm going to do what's best for my time. And, not everyone should be an entrepreneur either, because their mind, I'm sure you understand this too. What goes on in your mind is a lot of times you're working more in your mind than actually on a computer or networking or whatever else, because it's so intense. It's entrepreneurship. It's not like a 9 to 5 where you get off at 5 and day's done. You're still thinking. Like, I know you say, oh, you can do it. You're still thinking about your business 100%.
Yeah. You caught me. Yeah. I still think about it. Yeah.
But it's fun, right? It's like I don't want to say it's like a game, but like, I don't have to grow my business anymore, but I do, because it's like a game of like, how far can we grow this? I think about my staff. If I stop growing the business, how's my staff going to keep moving up the ladder? You got to start creating more ladders for them to climb, so it's really interesting but not everybody wants that, right? A lot of people are just kind of like, oh no, I'm good here. I don't need to push anymore. I'm just going to live my life. But for me, that's kind of boring, but that might not be for somebody else, but that's totally okay too. Not everyone needs to be a damn Elon Musk.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got one of him. That's good. Yeah, I think we're all pretty happy with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your takes and your insight. And it's been a blast having this conversation with you. So the last thing is actually technically the question comes in 2 parts. First is if you have any like a Chinese proverb or a quote or anything like that you like sharing, you're free to. and then let the audience know how they can make contact.
I'm going to think about that Chinese proverb, but contact is, if you want to reach out to me, the easiest way is probably on Instagram. It's at Moran Mikey. I'm trying to think of like quotes. You know what's funny is I used to be so big into quotes. Like when I first started as an entrepreneur, I lived by quotes. But now I just kind of like, I don't even almost see them anymore because my mind is just thinking so different. But really for like more of a value is it's more comes down to like, it's okay to fail because that's really the only way you're going to learn. So like, I love talking to new entrepreneurs because they get so wrapped up. I couldn't imagine being an entrepreneur trying to come up in today's world with social media. Like as much as I love social media, it helped build our business. It must be absolutely brutal to be a new entrepreneur and see like what people put on there. It's just a highlight reel. So it's just really tough. So, you know what, at the end of the day, just do the best you can. Always try to improve yourself. Realize things are definitely not always going to go right. And when they do go wrong, just figure out how to fix it, get it done, move on. And that's it.
Excellent. Well, I should say, you know, like I say Chinese proverb as like an example of a far-reaching, like bits of wisdom, where however shape that may take. But nonetheless, I appreciate the answer.
See, if I did better in school, I would have had a better understanding of Chinese proverb. But that's okay too.
You zoned out during the Chinese proverb lecture. I get it.
That's okay. We're it is what it is.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's everything that we've got for you today. To my audience, as always, it is an honor and a privilege to collect this information. Am I using it for my own benefit? You know it. But nonetheless, share that information with all of you as well. So to that, I say thank you. To my guest, Mikey Moran, thank you as well. This has been a fantastic episode. And with that, take care, and we will check in soon.
About small business owners, and I wanted to reshape an industry, and I wanted to scale.
Hey, this is Joseph from Ecommerce. Just wanted to thank you for being here and for giving this content your time and attention. I hope you learned something. I can say with certainty, I have learned something with every episode that I have done, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. There's a couple things you can do to help us out. If you want to check out the audio content, we are available on all major podcast platform distributors. And while you're there, give us a 5-star review. It helps a lot. And while you're here on YouTube, there's a lot of things you can do to help out as well. It's not going to take very long. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button for this episode, and hit the notification bell so when we have new content for you, it's going to be at your doorstep ASAP. Lastly, this podcast is created by Debutify, the best Shopify template available. It is 100% free for you to start, and it can change your life. It can make you so much more free than you are right now. So if this episode wasn't enough to convince you, I think a few more might do the trick. So have at it.